Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Elena, all the way she lives in Amsterdam, and I live in Noordwijk, like 20 kilometers south, and we only see each other online. I miss you, Elena. Good afternoon, everyone. It is 3 p.m. Central European time here in the Netherlands, where people are rioting because they don't want to stay home, and I love being at home watching all the online meetings. Welcome to the epic meeting on forensics. 2 billion people around the world lack access to the right medicines and vaccines. That creates a vacuum for criminals to supply substandard and falsified products. In many low and middle-income countries, 1 in 10 medicines is fake. COVID-19 and e-commerce have only amplified the opportunities for criminals. But global medical supply chains are complex. Products manufactured in one country may be packaged in a second and then distributed across borders and sold to customers in a third. But we know that photonics solutions are ready to fight back. Lasers and sensors provide marking and verification technologies that speed up detection and identify the bad guys before fake drugs reach the pharmacy. And do you watch CSI? In recent years, forensic science has benefited from advanced photonics technologies at the crime scene. Photonics is the best tool to identify fingerprints, traces of blood, or any other tissue containing the criminal's DNA. Companies like Thermo Fisher, Avantes, Speking, or HiSpecs have adapted Raman hyperspectral and optical coherence tomography techniques to this important application field. And how about spotting fake artworks, or fake clothing, or counterfeit electronics? And fake money? Sometimes criminals are so good that detecting the counterfeit can only be done by labeling the original first. So who are you gonna call? The European micro-optics champions, SURYS, Nanoscribe, Multiphoton, 3D-AG, I could not mention all. This is a booming market for the European micro-optics revolution. So join us on Wednesday, January 27th, when we reach out to those investigating and taking action, like police forces, museums, clothing brands, and we'll have the photonics solution providers of EPIC to match the needs of those keeping us safe and healthy. Being epic means championing authenticity. Oh, what a nice afternoon. I really can't wait. I'm sharing the excitement with Elena. It's been a lot of work, Elena. You've done a lot of work putting this agenda together, putting these companies together. Now let's make sure we make them do business. I would like to keep saying that we can't keep thanking you every day and not making you bored with this. But thank you. 670 companies are now members of EPIC. We are by a mile the largest association in the world. And we just want to make sure that you remember we keep understanding and knowing every company individually. It's not about being the largest, but our team wants to know what every company does. So we have a team of 15 people, 7 of them with PhD, making sure that they understand what you do, and we organize events. We connect companies, and that's what we do the best. We raise capital for companies. We have the biggest website to find a job in photonics, jobsinphotonics.com, and we provide access to a long list of market reports to all our members. Today is the chapter 6 actually, of the EPIC Online Technology Meeting Season 3. It's like a Netflix show, and today we have a CSI chapter. Today we are talking about fake drugs, forensic science, and anti-counterfeiting. And you will see how many activities we have. But I would like to remind you, please have a look at the rest of the online technology meetings already scheduled for this quarter. And for example, have a look at the one that we have in co-package optics, or the one that we have in freeform optics, or the one that we have in next space communication or medical devices, and register as soon as possible. Register as soon as possible. Don't tell me that you didn't know about the meeting. It's all scheduled always well in advance. And for the first time, EPIC is also supporting quantum technologies. So we are addressing every single market in quantum. If you want to know what it is, or you have technologies relevant to this market, or if you're an expert on quantum technologies, do not miss these meetings. They are going to be spectacular. But that's it about EPIC. Today is about focusing on fake drugs, forensic science, and counterfeiting. And with this, first of all, I would like to acknowledge our media partners, Medical Device, Electro Optics, and AZO Optics. Thank you so much for keeping promoting our events. I love seeing myself in the media constantly. Thank you so much for that. And I would like to also thank Dr. Elena Beletkaia, who's been working really a lot, trying to make sure that all the members find business in forensics. Elena, great job. What's in the menu today?
Thank you very much for your kind words, Jose. Well, today we will find a lot of solutions for brand protection or for a different type of drugs, for explosive, for artworks. And I think that everybody in the room today actually would love to know how they can protect their products, but at the same time, how they can contribute to the protection of the different products, whether it's a valuable document, whether it's drugs, or maybe helping law enforcement or even some humanitarian missions. So we have companies which are doing system integrations, who are doing computer vision systems or laser sources, other light sources, sensors, cameras. We have market intelligence with us. And of course, we have a lot of R&D represented in the company, as well as quite a few end users. So I think without further ado, Jose, we should move to this very exciting meeting and the presentation.
Thank you very much, Elena. Dr. Elena Beletkaia, thank you so much. Thank you all. This slide only represents the companies who registered for today's meeting. So if you are developing micro optics, you're thinking, why am I not in that slide? We never forget about you. You're here, we never forget about you. This slide only corresponds to the companies who registered for this meeting. Never let it happen again. Register for the upcoming meetings. This meeting is also live streamed in YouTube. So allow me to say hello to the YouTubers. Hello, YouTubers. If you want to get in touch with any of the participants today, send me an email, jose.pozo@epic-azoc.com. If you scroll down in the description of the video, you already have the participant list there and their LinkedIn addresses. And please, if you have any questions, write them in the chat of YouTube. I will read it in the room. And this is also valid for the people in the Zoom room. You have an internal chat there. So please make sure you use it to do private business during the meeting. This is a unique opportunity. And at the same time, after the meeting, if you want to get in touch with any of the participants, drop me a line, send me an email, and I would love to make the introduction. And that's it. Let's start the meeting. And to start the meeting today, we really wanted to give the opening role to one of the key companies that we have in EPIC in the field of micro-optics, being at the forefront of the European micro-optics revolution. We have 3D AG represented by the CEO, Martina Müller. Martina, thank you very much for taking the role of opening the show. Thank you very much for being at the forefront of micro-optics, and thank you for being a member of EPIC. The floor and the attention of everyone today worldwide is yours.
Thank you so much, Jose, for this amazing introduction. I'm going to share my screen for all of you to see my presentation. One moment, there we go. So I will be speaking today about the 5 key steps to implementing an anti-counterfeiting solution. So I'm going to take a bit of step back and also take in regard all the different solutions and not just ours, but really to see what a company has to do if they are interested in implementing anti-counterfeiting. A quick brief introduction to 3D AG. We're experts in nano and microtechnology since 1989. In these 30 years, we've produced more than 70 banknotes, stripe security features, and implemented anti-counterfeiting solutions worldwide. Our core competences are in electroforming, UV step and repeat origination, and our business units are very wide, from high security to photonics to brand protection. And now to the 5 key steps. So the first key step is a change in mindset. And I think everybody on the call today has already taken this step. They are ready to support and facilitate anti-counterfeiting in healthcare. I think first and foremost, it's important to really profit of all the amazing technology that exists in this field. And there is so much. There are so many solutions, and every solution is perfect for a specific brand and product. It's important to be a thought leader in the field. And I think we're talking about healthcare, so human health, and I think consumer first is very, very important. The second step is threat analysis and evaluation. So there are a couple of examples here for the where, the how, and the who. And I think this is very important to first understand where our threats coming from. What are you trying to facilitate? Is it a distribution problem? Is it even counterfeiting? Counterfeiting means the whole product is counterfeit from A to Z, but it may be only tampering. It may be only the package. It may be, you know, there's different types of how a counterfeit or a tampered product can come into the market. And the who is also crucial. So is it border control who's in charge of this? Is it the consumer? Are we talking about regulatory options? There's just so many aspects that one has to see, and one has to find this thread. Is it multiple of these factors, or is it only just a couple? And that's key to defining what the right solution is. Our solution and our approach is holography. This is why this slide shows a lot of holograms. I know there are many solutions that I'm very excited to hear about today. But when choosing an authentication element, you have to think about the element and the tool. And this is also quite important in regard to the who. So who is checking this element? If it's border control, they might be able to facilitate using a more expensive or a more difficult tool to use, while a consumer may not have a tool. They may have a mobile phone or their naked eye, but it's really important to define these who's and the wheres to define what is the appropriate element and tool. When deciding this, it's also important to look at the environmental conditions. So is temperature a factor? Does it have to be temperature stable? The physical characteristics, are you also trying to, you know, create a tamper evident seal with this solution? Always in regards to compliance, of course. And here you can see a couple of examples. So a hologram used as a tamper evident effect for packaging. It can be used as a label on the package itself, as well as, for instance, here, as you see on the white package, as a shrink sleeve. So the reason why we just still regard holograms as, you know, one of the core elements in brand protection and anti-counterfeiting is because you can create these different levels. So you have the physical and visual level, which is valid for the consumer, as well as you can hide certain elements and make it something only valid for border control. So it's very important that you see that the hologram can combine these different levels. Moreover, the second layer is the digital layer. So you have this physical layer, you have the digital layer, and we have heavily invested also in a fourth layer. So that is blockchain. We see that all the digital solutions are amazing that are around, but also those can be tampered with, and also those can be, you know, hacked and data stolen from. So we see blockchain as quite an interesting element for the track and trace and digital protection of the digital side to all of this. And it's still a very cost-effective solution. So we really still comply in using holograms as a quite valid feature, and have also successfully implemented this on multiple pharmaceuticals. And the next step that I just want to really emphasize is the implementation and integration. And the three most important key factors that we really try and really push through are training, education, and publicity. So it's really important to, if you have implemented a solution, to really educate everybody about what you've done and spread this news. Some people are embarrassed. They're like, oh, my product has been counterfeited. But no, if you have an answer and if you've brought up a solution, boost that, you know, educate the people. And I think in the end, the consumer has such a valid choice in what he purchases. And if the consumer, you know, also is involved in this process, it's just really a game changer. So these 3 points, training, education, publicity, they're just key to any solution that you implement. And last step, effectiveness and risk management. Don't sleep. Even if you've implemented a solution, always reevaluate. It's supposed to be an evolution. It's not going to stop at one point. You have to continue integrating new features, redeveloping it, and adding on additional features. So I hope this was a good start into this meeting. It's a bit of broad view, but I thought it really might be a good opener. So I'm very happy that I had this first slot. Thank you very much for listening. And yeah,
Martina, that was a fantastic start. Thank you so very much. It's really giving an overview of a problem, and we will later hear different solutions. But before we go to the solutions, you know, it is an epic meeting, so it cannot proceed without having the epic question: what you can do for them and what they can do for you. We have a full supply chain in photonics technologies today. So what is there on your list? What they can do for you?
What they can do for us? Well, I mean, a hologram is technically also a photonic application. It can be thought about how you view photonics as, but it's also an interaction of light. So I think it's the development of new features that are always just key to kind of step up the game in this micro nano technology in structures, to develop more and more new features, because the counterfeiters don't sleep, right? So they also always, you know, counterfeit the new features that are developed. So it's a key to develop new features and to be on the forefront of that, and things that can be integrated. So to have cost-effective manufacturing, there's just certain processes that are used today, if UV embossing or hard embossing, to create mass labels. And I think to develop more features that can be integrated easily into these materials. So that's definitely what can help us further develop our products. And our offering is really for pharmaceuticals is high security holograms.
So if we will be talking about new features, would some 3D printing features be helpful for you? Do you see that possible fits? Or we also have Jörg from Nanoscribe here. Maybe he can also comment on this.
Yes, we know Nanoscribe very well, a bit more, not in holographic features, but for other features. I think that's definitely in the nano micro fabrication. You can develop features with their great machines. So yes, for sure. I mean, the developing of features is always it's a difficult thing. I know that I think SURYS is on the call today. I know that they're quite in the forefront of this as well. So I mean, heads up to all of their work that they do in the field. So I think there's many companies working on this that are also here on the call today, and we're really always open to see what they've developed for the industry.
Well, we will indeed hear from SURYS just in a few moments, but as I already introduced Nanoscribe, Jörg, why wouldn't you also tell a few words about Nanoscribe?
Hello, everybody. Nice to be again on an EPIC meeting. Has been a long time for me. I was busy over the year with other things. Nanoscribe is a leading company for anything linked to micro, nano, 3D printing, 2.5D printing. So we presented 2 years ago a new system for 2.5D mastering, the Quantum X. We have still the Photonics Professional as a 3D printer for basic research and flexible developments. So we do security features indirectly with diffractive optical elements mostly. There are some of our customers who are doing holograms. Yeah, that are possibilities we have.
Great, thank you so very much. Well, I'm sure that we will come to Martina many more times during this meeting. I'm sure there will be a lot of questions to you also after the meeting. So don't forget that we are here for collaborations and to connect with each other. Since Guy de la Roche from SURYS, we already mentioned the company. Let's see also your presentation, and please let us know what SURYS offers.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm really happy to be with you this afternoon. So I'm working for SURYS. First of all, thank you very much, Martina, for the presentation and all the information that you gave. Almost all of them are true for SURYS. All of them are true for SURYS. So SURYS is two specialists of holograms. We are protecting now more than half of the passports in the world and many banknotes and so on. For myself, I'm a specialist of anti-counterfeiting and brand protection for spirit industry, for pharma industry, and so on, so in various industry. And today I would like to introduce you with one of our core technology into this market, which is the optical chip. To give you a bit more of context, what we see and what is particularly true with medicines is that you have two technological bricks. One of them is identification. We have many different ways to do the identification. Basically, the idea is to get one unique code in each and every product in order to follow it all through the production process and then the distribution process. It has many limits when you look at it, because basically you can scratch it, you can destroy it, you can replicate it, you can have and print a fake code which send you to a yes page saying, yeah, the product is genuine, and so on. On the other hand, we have different authentication solutions, such as holograms, OVI, special printings, and so on. Their weakness actually is that it's really hard to share with a large public on how controlling the product, on how to controlling the features. Also, even if they know, they almost never, when it comes to the end consumer, to the patient, they almost have no way to compare it with a genuine one. So when we look at this in total, we see that in most cases, it's really hard to have a large scale control for general public, for end users, for patients. From this vision, from this paradigm, what we said and what we developed is the optical chip. The first step is what is really the basic step for our industry, is having something which is temporary evidence. So by this way, we make sure it's impossible to peel it off and to apply it into another product in order to make it look like a genuine one. So this can be provided with die cutting, with partial release, and so on. Then, and I don't know, yeah. Then we go to the authentication. So here we can have, with the holographic solution, with the different layers. So we can have something which is nice, eye-catchy, and controllable with eyes. So it can be 3D effects, it can be permutation of color, irradiation effects, and so on. On top of this, we can have second layers, which can be controlled with magnifier for microtext, with with filters in order to see a permutation of color. And we can go up to the forensic level, which is provided by the ability of our really nano grating solution, which is nanotexting. Then the third brick is identification. So once again, is having a unique code and follow it all through the production and distribution process. What is really interesting now, and what I would like to focus on, is the link between authentication and identification. What we want to make sure is first to make sure that the products that we look at is genuine, so have been authenticated. And once it's done, give access to the traceability features and also all the information about the products. So by this way, we don't destroy the database with fake products, with genuine codes. How does it work if we dig in details? The first step is with the smartphone. With a proprietary app, we are able to send an optical signal, basically a flash, into our holographic grating. The holographic grating will encode, will diffract this optical signal and resend its reflection to the camera of the smartphone. By this way, we have one first signature. In a second step, the flash of the camera will be stopped and we will receive the info from a different source of light, another optical signal, through another angle and with a different diffraction. And we will receive a different signal. At this time, we are able to compare both signals and see how they evolve, and by this way extract the optical signature of the hologram that we get in front of us. And at this time, with this optical signature, we are able to say automatically and offline if the product is genuine or not. So that's really what we want to focus on and what is really interesting, because what has said Martina, what is really hard is to communicate about the security features and to make the public aware about it. And here, with the optical and the digital technology going melt together, we can bring a simple and a quick way for any end user, custom agents, controllers, anybody to have in a few seconds the answer about the authenticity of the product that they get in hands. So I go one step ahead from Elena questions. It will be what could be our perspective. So for sure, and we are already working with different companies here or different labs such as CSEM in order to develop new holographic features, which is really the key. Basically, what we are looking is something really easy to control for anybody, really easy to see, level 1, and really hard to attack. So that's the secret for a good holographic feature. And then also more on the business side, we are looking for system integrators, because sometimes you can have a global project where you would like to embed security features, and sometimes it can be us which are in the forefront of the market and which are in front of the clients, and at this time we can be looking for other technology in order to embed them into our solution.
Thank you very much for this exciting presentation and for giving us this very short summary of what is there you can do for them and what they can do for you.
It was
Jose,
fascinating.
what do you think?
I have no words. It was fascinating. The two first presentations telling us about the role that optics has for protecting brands. I was very, very excited to see SURYS first saying that they protect 50% of the passports worldwide. That is something, 50% of the passport worldwide. I would like to ask you, when you talk about collaboration opportunities, you were talking about different components not addressed by your solution. We love challenges. We saw something called the Santa Claus Christmas list. Is there one particular challenge that you have for the optics community? Something that you think, oh, they are not going to manage?
I think one of the main challenges that we have is how providing more and more depth into our holographic features. So how to make them volumes features, which is something which is really easy and really understandable for any end user, any consumers, and in the same time, really hard to attack and by the technology available by the features such as microdot or these kind of features. So that might be one of the challenges, yeah, for sure.
So for me, you always keep saying it has to be complicated. Complicated means a lot of things. So we have really great technologies. I think Martina could have a chat with you with the different developments in the ecosystem that we are having with different multi-level optics, in micro optics, freeform optics at wafer level. We can do really crazy things. But what does it make a hologram hard to copy?
Basically, it's its features and the features that can be authenticated easily. So if you have something which is eye-catchy, which is intuitive, then it's simple to control. And if it's simple to control, then it's great features. And once you have defined the great features, you have to see what are the solution available by the features in order to attack it. And this is another job just by itself. So that's the communion, the melt between those two features, those two ideas.
Guy de la Roche, challenge accepted. You know what we're going to do? We're going to find features that nobody can copy. So the first thing, I'm going to go to Poland. Why am I going to go to Poland? The reason for that is because I have a company who developed ink that can actually emit light. They use quantum dots, which is one of my passions. I can't hide. Artur, Chesh, Q&A technology. Could you tell us what you do? And now we're going to see if this could be used in the market addressed by 3D AG and SURYS.
Hello, Jose. It's really great to see you. It's always, I got from you energy for the next months. So yes, indeed, we are developing the quantum dots. So these are some nanocrystalline materials, light emitting. And what is special about our dots especially is that they are emitting a very unique features. So they are emitting in the blue part of the region, and they have really very sharp peaks. So it's very, very difficult to copy these kinds of optical response. And what our company is doing, in addition, we are trying to perform inks, which can be done almost in any kind of ink. So they can be polar, non-polar, we can disperse our dots in the polymers and monomers. So we can adjust our ink for almost any kind of printer head and to be printed on any kind of substrate. And that's why I was also wondering if it's any possibility to integrate these kinds of technology with holograms. I'm not an expert in holograms, but I was just wondering if this could be the one of the layers in this kinds of.
Guy is an expert in holograms, so that's okay. Don't worry, you have the expertise in the room. Guy, we have ink that can actually emit light, and I have seen it. It's out of this world. What do you think?
Yeah, that's something that can be relevant actually. I think it can increase. One of the features that we are looking for is eye-catchiness. Sorry for the new word, but basically what we want is to have as much control as possible, and with these kind of features, I think we can improve it.
Control, so, Artur, is that a challenge?
I mean, the material we have is a very high quality and reproducibility. So once we will defining the wavelength position and the broadening, it's really always the same. So this is the advantage. I mean, the material is designed for the display industry, so it must fulfill the very high standards. So that's why I think it could be quite interesting for your application, guys.
I would like to go to Martina now. Martina from 3DAG, one of my favorite companies. Martina, you gave a fantastic introduction. I wanted to have a nice Q&A after Guy's presentation. What do you think about this? We have an ink that can actually emit light based on quantum dots. This is reproducible material, but impossible to copy material. What is the first question that comes to your mind to ask, Arthur?
The tool. So I mean, if it's implemented, the ink is then could, for instance, be printed on the product in a way, and then what tool do you need to read this?
I think the simple spectrophotometer. So first of all, you can see the image by your naked eye, right? So it's a violet blue color, which is already not so easy to reproduce. But when you have a look with the spectrophotometer, you will see a very well-defined peak position and the broadening of this peak. And these two parameters are really, really, very specific for the technology, for the material, this is what we are doing. So it's almost impossible to copy. As we know, probably everything is sooner or later possible, but it's really hard to do that.
No, I mean, that for sure is very interesting. I think the fact that it can be checked by the naked eye, but then reconfirmed with the tool is obviously quite interesting. And another question that I would have is the printing process. Can the inks be placed into normal, HP kind of systems, or how?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible because we can adjust. I don't know if do you see the slide I'm presenting?
Gorilla Glass Clear.
It's disappeared.
I know, but disappeared now.
Yeah, but now I think the people can see. So we can, for example, print it with the office printer on foil, on paper, but also we were able to print the pixels with the size below 10 microns with the high resolution printers. So you can use the architecture could be the signature, but also the spectrum, as you can see here. So yeah, we can adjust it to almost any kinds of printing head.
That's very interesting. I think that makes it, easily implementable. So
Q&A is one of the most innovative companies that we have in EPIC. Thank you very much, Artur, for being with us.
Thank you.
Guy, Martina, I want to find you another partner. I'm going to go to one of my favorite companies as well, because they gave me this amazing mug. Marco from Fraunhofer IAF. I think Fraunhofer IAF has positioned itself amazingly in the drug anti-counterfeiting business. But Marco, what brought you to this meeting, and what kind of cooperations would you like to start after this?
Hi, Jose. Thank you so much. So actually, what we are working on is MEMS-based EC-QCLs, which can use for standoff IR spectroscopy. And in particular, these modules are so robust and so small that they can use in handheld devices. And as IR spectroscopy allows chemical identification, it can be used for any kind of application, for forensic, but also to detect counterfeits. So that brings me into this meeting. So
Marco, we're going to find you some interesting partners. The first one, I'm going to go to the Netherlands. I'm going to meet a person that is extremely nice. I went to visit him. Dirk de Man from Topic. What's on your mind? You are muted. Sentence of Epic 2020.
Some people are very happy to mute me sometimes. What's on my mind? Well, there are a lot of things on my mind. First of all, very happy to be here and to talk to you all. And when I heard the story of Guy, I had to think of a very big, interesting company based in the Netherlands that makes passports, IDs, and driver's license. And I assume you already know it, but if not, please let me know if I can help you in any way to contact that company.
Just mention the name of the company. They are listening anyway.
I'm always careful. It's EAI, and it's a very, very well-known company. And with our services that we do on the embedded side, there's always a mutual collaboration. But if not, I would be happy to bring you in contact with those guys if you would like that.
Topic is one of the key companies that we have in our network on embedded systems, embedded electronics. Dirk, thank you. Well, thank you very much for being with us. I would like to final this amazing roundtable with somebody from Duane Research. I would like to go to Graz, Austria, fantastic country. And I think I have in the room, correct me if I'm wrong, Jan Hesse.
Yes, hello, Jose.
How are you doing? You look fantastic, by the way. It's like your tongue. Great, in Austria this time.
It's a bit a bad photonic solution on my desk here. Yeah. No,
so what brought you to this meeting? Duane is very strong in counterfeiting. So what brought you to this meeting? What collaborations are we going to find for you?
So actually, so we have been working in some of those such projects, and in my group, we focus actually on sensors for anti-counterfeiting features, and we read out those in handheld devices. So we have been working in projects where we can provide solutions for police, for instance, checking validity of passports, checking validity of tickets. This is what we focus on, and for this, of course, we need collaborations with partners like we just heard that providing inks that can have special features we then later can read out in very specialized devices.
Thank you so much. And Martina, Guy, I hope you are ready to answer many emails looking for cooperations and collaborations. It is clear the challenge. I want to go to a company that many of you know, and you're going to be amazed what they do and what they can do and what their shopping list is for the photonics community. We're going to go to Arjo Solutions. We have Camille in the room. Camille, how are you doing this afternoon? The sentence of Epic 2020, also 2021 is you are muted. Yes,
okay,
you're here.
It should be okay now. Okay. Hi, nice to meet you, everyone.
Nice to meet you, Camille.
Sorry, I cannot join with my webcam, but hopefully you can hear me well.
Loud and clear.
Yeah, perfect. I have a little presentation. I don't know if you can share it for me because I had no chance to use my computer today.
It is up and running.
Okay, perfect. Just a couple of words about Arjo. The solution that we've developed are, as mentioned by some of the presentator, hologram solution and security inks. But what we wanted to focus today is our digital authentication solution. So if you can pass on the slide number 3 directly, you can see that we have developed a solution that is has for human biometrics, but apply on products. So we are taking directly on products a digital fingerprint based on the material surfaces and structure. And from that, we extract the code that we store in the central database. And without any help, just with a smartphone, you can directly authenticate your products. So while it's a huge security, we do not print anything. We do not have anything on the product. The product has already the security embedded in it. So nothing is changed in the process in the printing. And from that, just as human fingerprint, we are capturing this digital fingerprint. If you can go on slide number 6, you can see a little video about how this authentication is proceeded just using a smartphone. It's a really, I would say, innovating solution because it's based on optical solution, but we do not print or add anything. This solution has been used widely across cosmetic, pharmaceutical industry, and spirit industry. And in addition to counterfeiting, so finding which product is the wrong one and which product is the good one, this solution is also used to detect gray markets. So it's a complete solution that will help brand owners to detect all the falsified products which are gray market or counterfeit with just a smartphone. And as it's a smartphone that is making such verification, you can imagine that in terms of process, both brand inspector and brand consumer can do this type of scanning, which give 100% result that's saying if this product is into the database or if we do not find this product. And we do also a unitary authentication, so we are able to track each item as a serialization code could do, but just with this type of fingerprint. I was a little fast in the presentation because I do not have the presentation, so if you have any question about that, I know it's not usual to see this type of solution, but to be honest, it's been since 2008 that we have implemented that at customer, and currently we are protecting more than 400 million products per year with this solution. Hello?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Camille, for a great presentation. I was fascinated by the video. I really was fascinated by the video. That was really out of this world. Camille, this is an epic meeting, which means it's your first ever. I hope the first of many, because we are in love with your technology.
Yeah.
There is something that we call the epic question. And the epic question is, what can you do for the other 670 companies, members of EPIC, and what can the others do for you? So if you can share with us one or two challenges that the photonic industry can help you with.
I would say that what we are looking for with and for this solution is that we are still looking for more compatibilities. So this solution is currently implemented on packaging, on labels, on spirit bottles such as glass or label, on plastic surfaces, but we are still looking to have more compatibility. So sometimes the glasses are complicated to extract the material surface, because when you are doing a picture, you are still looking to erase the defect of the surfaces. You're just looking for perfection of picture. And what we are looking within Arjo is to reveal the defect of each surfaces. So what we are searching as partner is really partner that could help us to increase our lighting system to reveal what the surface has for defects. And with that, with our algorithm, we are able to extract this fingerprints on that.
Wow, that's a very beautiful challenge for the industry. Increase the lighting system. It is not about increasing the amount of lumens. That would be too easy. What we need is a better way of projecting the light. And I love that one. I love that one, Camille. You know why? Because we do have fascination for light shaping in EPIC. I don't know if the people in Switzerland at CSEM, who are actually developing lots of networks on micro-optic manufacturing and light shaping, can help. Guillaume, all the way from Neuchâtel, what's on your mind?
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I will share with some slides if that's okay for you.
I would like rather, before we go to your presentation, I would rather say we have a challenge here, which is Camille is looking for a way to get more light into the sample. Is that something that you can do?
Yes, I know this challenge, and it's quite tricky indeed when you have glasses like paper, wood, or other packaging material. It's quite easy to get diffuse light out of it and to have digital or optical signatures from the surface. For glasses, which are with a bit of waviness, a bit of defects, it's quite difficult to do. So I think that's a real challenge to do. Of course, there is a lot of beam shaping solutions, but still it's, even with the most advanced beam shaping solution, it's still a big challenge. So
we have a question in the room all the way from Nanoscribe. George, What's on your mind?
I was more having a question in production. I was impressed by the technology, and if I remember correctly, you introduced it in 2008. So why isn't this a unique solution? I mean, it's perfect. You just need a camera, which, well, the phones are better nowadays. So what is the speed in production to get this fingerprint? I think, is that the bottleneck? If I may ask that question, you can say no.
Thank you for the compliment. And I have the same thought. Why is it not applied everywhere? Currently, the fastest speed that we have reached was for the tobacco industry, on which we have reached a speed of 900 products per minute on the production line. And we have projects where we are going up on this number. So I feel that our technology is not a limit about speed. It's just, it's a new technology. We have the nice presentation from SURYS just before. I think the market is more used to have such technology with label or holograms. And with that, we are going on the new level, which give, in addition to holograms that give anti-counterfeiting features, a solution that is doing also gray market. And it's, I would say it's widely used in cosmetic, it's going widely used in pharma currently, and it's going across the market slowly, but on a faster way since a couple of years. And hopefully, I will hope for the next meeting to have again the new numbers to share. But thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, George. I think George is satisfied with what you gave him so far, because I think there is a room for cooperation. This is the reason why he asked the question, if I read his mind, which I do. But I want to go to another company that we have here for the first time, because Camille already mentioned pharmaceuticals, and that was already addressed by Martina. And we have a company, WaveGuide, who is really specialized in pharmaceuticals. And before I go to the next speaker, I want him to tell us what you do, and also because this is an epic meeting looking for cooperations, a couple of challenges, how we can help NMR spectroscopy in the pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, good morning from Boston in the United States. My name
What time is it? Here is 3:46.
Yeah.
What time is it over there?
Good afternoon for you. Good morning from Boston. I have my coffee, so.
Good. Cheers.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you all. I've spent 25 years in photonics and optics with portable Raman, FTIR, worked in near infrared and some other methods as well. WaveGuide has developed the world's first portable NMR, nuclear magnetic resonance platform, spun out of Harvard University here in Boston. The message really is complementary. There are obviously applications where optics may not solve the problem, whether it's fluorescence or detection limits or complex quantitative applications. So there is a complementary fit where there's a confirmatory, if it's law enforcement or customs, if you have two different laws of physics that will tell you, yes, this is an explosive, or no, this does not contain the active pharmaceutical ingredient, whether it's for human health and safety or for taxation. You know, complementary technologies have a role there. WaveGuide has been particularly focused in biopharma, specifically, unfortunately, given we're all living through a pandemic, vaccines can be quite challenging, whether it's cold chain conformation through to complex multivalent vaccines that get diluted or worse. And then in biologics, just the formulation can be rather challenging for optical methods. So it's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm looking forward to make some cooperations with you. Do you have maybe one challenge, something that the community can help you with?
What's one challenge?
Dream away, the Santa Claus Christmas list of WaveGuide.
I think it's just being, you know, I think no one really likes to be in sales. I think it really is better to be a trusted advisor. So my only request is just consider complementary and confirmatory methods. And it may not necessarily be NMR. It could obviously be XRF. It could be UV. It could be mass spectroscopy. There are obviously a nice Venn diagram. So positioning, if a customer has a problem, it's not just one magic bullet. There may be some applications that could require, you know, whether it's for forensics, for prosecution, or for safety, just looking at the different formulation structures that can be used with different analytical methods. So
you read my mind. You're talking about complementary methods. We have nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy. Why don't we talk about Raman spectroscopy now? The next presentation is Travis Thompson, talking about Raman spectroscopy from Metrohm Raman, using it in forensic applications. Make me excited, Travis. The floor and the attention of everyone goes to you. And remember, I'm a huge fan of CSI.
Very good. Yes, good morning. My name is Travis Thompson. I'm actually coming from the Midwest, so just a little bit west of the previous speaker. So it's my pleasure to be here. This is our first time on an EPIC conference call, so this is interesting. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about handheld Raman for narcotics ID, not necessarily in terms of anti-counterfeiting, but more for just simple identification. Since this is our first time, I want to talk just a little bit about who we are. So we are based in Laramie, Wyoming in the US, obviously. We're actually part of Metrohm, which is a Swiss company. We were acquired by Metrohm in 2016. At Metrohm Raman, we have roughly 60 years of total Raman experience company-wide in handheld Raman development. So systems and product development, applications development. Many of our core members were part of a previous company that developed the first handheld Raman system in 2004. We currently have about 40 plus employees in our Laramie office, and that includes engineering, manufacturing, marketing, and we've always been known as innovators in Raman market, roughly 15 patents. So one of the systems that we offer is the Mira DS. This is specifically used for law enforcement. So for these systems, they're being used for identification of narcotics. This can be anything from stimulants, recreational drugs, to NPS, psychoactive stimulants, that kind of thing. So with the Mira DS, it's obviously a very small system, a handheld system. We've got one here. It's got a few novel features on board. We have ORS for increased measurement reproducibility. Also limits how much power we're putting onto the sample. Onboard automated data collection and processing is really important, especially for users who aren't familiar with this technology or how to use it. We do have a small ruggedized form factor. Again, anything this small, you want to ensure it's going to get bumped, it's going to get dropped. It's got to be able to withstand that abuse. A number of different attachments that we can use. This, for example, is our standoff attachment. So you can measure data, collect data from a distance. We can collect data through transparent packaging. This is really especially important for law enforcement because we're going to be going through plastic bags, through glass, things like that. And we do have a mobile app for chain of evidence, so we can take pictures, we can take GPS information, and then tie that to the sample. So one thing I wanted to talk about just briefly is fentanyl. So this is a problem that we've been running into in the US quite frequently of late. So fentanyl has been around for decades. It's a synthetic opioid. It's used for the treatment of severe pain. When abused, it has a similar euphoric high to heroin. There's two things about fentanyl relative to heroin though. One, it's less expensive to produce and manufacture. It's also much more potent and dangerous. For our customers, for our law enforcement customers, they're going to run into this either in bulk packaging or they'll find it kind of in the end use mixture. So it's going to be cut into heroin, could be cut into methamphetamine. Heroin is a class 1 narcotic, fentanyl class 2 because it does have a medicinal purpose. Obviously, it's used for treatment of pain. So in the US, even outside of the US, we've been seeing abuse and overdose steadily increasing for about the past 10 years. It's really become a major issue here in the US. And again, one of the problems with fentanyl, it can be really potent. Carfentanil, for example, is about 10,000 times more potent than morphine. So big issue there. I have a few spectra here collected with one of our systems. One of the issues and challenges we face when dealing with these types of materials is that analogs are being produced at a really alarming rate. So this is just a handful of the analogs, fentanyl analogs that exist. There are hundreds more. You can see there's some similarities between all of these, some differences as well, but it's really challenging for us to try to differentiate all of these that we're going to run into. One thing I will point out, which kind of applies to counterfeiting, every compound has its own unique Raman spectrum, so we can kind of use that as a fingerprinting tool. So, not one thing is going to look exactly like another. So again, just a few of the challenges that we face. Again, some of these drug classes have analogs that are being synthesized very, very rapidly. And this is not just fentanyl or synthetic opioids, it's cathinoids, it's cannabinoids, it's psychedelics, really across the board. So the solution here, control and restrictions on the government level, and then also partnerships between government agencies and some of the groups and folks that are actually making systems for the identification of these materials. These drugs can be difficult to characterize. Again, they're being added and synthesized so frequently that it's difficult to keep up with databases. So you can build larger databases with additional analogs, but then you also have problems with some of the issues related to structural similarity. Raman is very, very selective, but these things are so similar that it can be even difficult for us to differentiate them. And then lastly, I pointed out just sampling. So we run into this stuff in bulk or also cut into low concentrations. For bulk identification, it's pretty straightforward. We're going to sample directly through the packaging. For low concentration, it's a little bit more difficult. We do have to reuse SURYS, surface enhanced Raman scattering, which is a sampling technique, allows us to essentially enhance the signal that we receive back and make that identification. So some of these SURYS substrates and solutions are readily available now commercially, so it helps us there.
Thank you so very much for this introduction to the whole different world in the meeting today about fentanyl and other drugs. Thank you very much for contributing to fighting the safety, on the street and in general. Thanks a lot for that, obviously. So we now see quite a few challenges you're facing because the production is going so fast and they're changing the compounds. But what challenges you also see from perspective of photonics, how the photonics community over here could be potentially helping you with? So you mentioned that it's harsh environment. So what can we do for you?
So we've been working on these systems since about 2004, so 15 years or so. So we know a lot of folks in the community. We're always looking at ways that we can improve, any aspect of our system design, whether that be the lasers that we're using, the detectors that we're using. So anything that can kind of improve our performance from a hardware perspective would be fantastic. And then also, one of the biggest challenges we face is just in terms of data processing. We can collect a good spectrum, but collecting a good spectrum is really, it's important, but it's really what you can then do with that information that is most valuable.
Okay, that's great. Well, we have, as usual, supply chain over here, and we have Artur for Lazic Photonics, very well known for their detectors. So what can you maybe suggest to Travis? Maybe you can help him somehow.
Hi, Elena. Thanks for calling. Yeah, Raman, I agree with him. Raman is a great technique for identification of unknown substances or unknown substance to put them in a certain bracket, go through containers and all that. There's in terms of challenges, maybe one thing I can add. I've been thinking about is if you want to bring this into the broader. To give a broader range to Raman, you need like smaller instruments and also lower cost devices, lower cost detectors, and lower cost lasers. Like the laser in the Raman system is often like a big ticket item. Some of the other components that can be replaced with lower cost things, but the laser I see as a high cost ticket item on this. And if there were like, I'm thinking of like a Viscal type emitter, if there was a little more narrow band and could replace the laser, that might actually open up applications in a very different sector, right? You can equip every policeman with a Raman system, for example.
Okay, thank you very much. And we have quite a few questions also in the audience. Violeta from ENEA, would you like to ask a question, please? And don't forget to unmute yourself.
My question was, when you say standoff Raman, you place some telescope in front of, what does mean standoff for you? Half meter?
So standoff is, we can get up to not half meter, not quite that long. We're talking probably 1.5 meter. That's the extent right now that we can get to. So anywhere from 0.25 to 1.5. So it's not standoff in the sense that you're looking meters downrange or downfield at explosives, something like that. It's really just to give yourself distance, especially if you're in an environment that could be potentially dangerous. If you're looking at dangerous materials, for example, that'll just give you that extra space so that you're not directly in contact with the material.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
That is the question, Violeta. Thank you very much for asking that. Travis, from the application dependent, the application that you are targeting, does that distance a limiting factor?
It depends. So I would say not necessarily, but having the ability to do standoff in addition to, traditionally with Raman, it's usually going to be point and touch, especially with handheld systems, just point and shoot. That's typically okay, but that standoff gives us that extra kind of level of safety. So if you are dealing with things that could be potentially explosive, that could thermally degrade, then you're not going to have those same worries that you would without having the standoff.
One thing when I hear from Wasatch Photonics, by the way, a great company, Dieter, thank you very much for being here. And I hear from Travis about the applicability of Raman spectrometers. We always end up with the same discussion, the price of the laser. And I always say, people criticize me for this, I always say a laser is a semiconductor. Laser is a piece of semiconductor, and there is no reason for that to be expensive as soon as the volume is high enough. But not always, that is not always true. I would like from Dieter and for you, from Travis, if you could specify your ideal laser, and then we will go to light conversion, to modulite, to many people in the room to see we can actually get close enough.
Maybe I can just jump in and start. So a ballpark figure could be like 100 milliwatt emission and maybe a 0.1 nanometer bandwidth. It's the bandwidth that I see as the critical part to get the Raman to work, and the cost low. So the semiconductors lasers, from the way they're produced in a flat field, there is a lot of manual step and selections going on, and the viscals, they can be mass produced really cheap, but they don't get the bandwidth that we need for Raman. You need like a few wave numbers at most.
What is the center wavelength?
Oh, you can be flexible, but say the 800 nanometer range is popular. 785 as a semiconductor laser is a really popular laser wavelength for Raman. But you can design around it, but that's a typical one.
Whenever we talk about semiconductor laser, we say the same thing. Let's go to Finland, Tampere. Robert from Modulite, we just got here. He's talking 0.1 nanometers. He's talking in the 750 nanometer center wavelength. And you said 100 milliwatts, right, Dieter? Robert, how do you feel about this?
What was it, 800 nanometers?
750, 800, yes. He's flexible on that one.
Yeah, so Modulite provides lasers from 400 nanometers up to 2000. There are some wavelengths in between that we don't provide, but mostly that range. So that suits pretty well our portfolio. So we can provide those lasers.
Okay, why don't we, this is obviously, you have to have a one-to-one discussion after this, and I love when this happens. Travis, it's your first meeting, you will see how many interactions you have after this. But I would like to go now to Ireland. I would like to go to Ireland because I love Ireland. Dublin is my favorite city, I love the beer there, but I also love the semiconductor lasers there. Eblana Photonics, did you hear the challenge?
Yeah,
is that something that makes you excited?
Sure. I think this is possible with the Blana lasers, so we can try to provide the lasers to you, hopefully, but not high power. Possibly maximum would be 10 milliwatt or so.
We need a bit more power, but there's something to, at least to start the discussion on this. Sure. Travis, I would like to come to you. Another thing that when we talk about Raman, the first thing that comes to mind is the filters. The filters. It's always talking about the filters for Raman. I have a lot of companies who are actually investing in IBS for making the potential filters for Raman. Is there any particular challenge that you have in the optical filters for Raman?
I wouldn't say we have a lot of challenges. I mean, the better efficiency that we can get, that obviously helps us. For our system, we target 400 to 2300 wave number spectral range. So we're not going very low, so we don't need super tight cut-on lasers. I mean, filters. So it's not a huge issue, but there's always, if there's stuff out there that's better than what we're currently using, then sure, we'd be interested.
Fantastic. And Travis and Dieter, thank you very much for this discussion. I'm loving this. Back to Elena Beletkaia. By the way, you look like you have like a halo. Like you're like Saint Elena Beletkaia today. Look fantastic.
Yeah, that's me. It's just headphones though, but thank you very much. Great to make such an impression. We have actually also, as I said, that we will be coming back to you, Martina, and we also coming back to Guy. There is also a question to both of you. The question is coming from Martina from White Conversion. So would you like to share your question with us? And don't forget to unmute yourself.
Oh, good to see you again. So more or less, Martina already answered in the chat. So my question was more or less about how expensive a solution for counterfeit protection can be with respect to the product and to how broadly the product is being used. Yeah, I gave it as an example. If you have a very expensive product, most likely a very cheap solution, which is easy to implement, might not be a very good protection. So there should be a certain balance between how complicated the protection is and how easily it is scaled. Yeah.
I mean, I just want to comment something. I think the interesting thing is if one analyzes counterfeiters and tries to distinguish why are they counterfeiting. They only counterfeit if, their cost of production is so low, like cigarettes, if you counterfeit the tax stamp, you have 100% margin, because the cigarette costs a cent and it's the tax stamp that's the expensive part. So yes, it's true, an expensive product is usually a bit more complex to protect. But it always depends, and I answered this, it's the threat, right? If it's online sales, it's a different situation that if you have kind of, distribution issues. So I think that's why I really tried in my presentation to say that's the key, right? Where is the threat coming from? And that's where the solution comes in. And I mean, we've protected very, very expensive products with a very cheap solution, and it was very effective. So I think yeah.
What I would like to build up on top of this is, yeah, definitely I agree. You can have, and especially when you consider the volumes, because what's make hard for a configurator to arrive, it's the fence of the technological fence. So if you have huge volumes and with one technological fence, then it's cheap for the brand which is protected and really complicates for as a configurator to attacks. And second, and so where is also what you have to keep in mind, and think when we are fighting against configurators, is that there is hundreds of thousands of products that they can attack. So if you product one brand, then the configurator has the choice between keep on attacking this brand, which is now protecting, and attacking all the other brands that they can similarly produce, and they just change the label. So probably they would rather go for another brand that is really easy to attack, and they will just change, and by this way you easily reduce the figures and the configurators attacks.
We have another question here in the chat. It's a question to 3DAG, to Martina Müller. The question is coming from Exceleprint, a company in the micro-transfer printing business, the very, very accurate pick and place that can actually enable volume production. Alexander from Exceleprint, what's on your mind?
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, hello. Yes, I had a question. I mean, in general, at Exceleprint, we are working on microtransfer printing. So this is really about building, micro components together and building very micro blocks and micro features, right? And we are also eyeing, of course, the authentication market and the identification market. We can build, like you can imagine a microchips of 10 by 10 micron, 10 micron thick, and that can be embedded in any sorts of material. So I've been looking at the authentication presentation using holograms that can authenticate the packaging, right? If it is a true or not true package. But do you see a need of having the authentication down to the pill level? So because we understand that sometimes, even though I mean, in the distribution chain for the medicines, the package can be true and be kept, right? But sometimes people exchange the pill and put a wrong pill into the package. I wanted to understand what was your view on that, and if there is a need of a special feature.
I mean, definitely. Thank you for the very good question. I think that's the effect of tampering, so that you have some valid and true products or parts of the packaging and the pill not. Yes, I think we're not in this business, but I think it's quite a big opportunity. I think it's quite an active market. It's more a feature for, as you said, border control, for instance, so that they're instructed to every other shipment that goes through that they have to open this and look for exactly this marking. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been on holiday, somewhere in the jungle, and you've had to, go to the pharmacy there, and then they don't give you the package, they just give you a plastic bag with like 10 pills. I've taken antibiotics like this, where in hindsight, I was like, I don't even know what this was. And I guess technically, if the pill would be marked in these cases, that could be very interesting. But I think it's quite a high educational factor. How does this marking look? Can I, as a consumer, even spot this this feature? So I think it's definitely a market. I mean, there are some solutions out there already to facilitate this.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Martina, if you're on holidays and somebody gives you a set of pills in a plastic bag, don't take it.
It was
Back
from the
Elena.
pharmacy.
Or maybe, Jose, just have one of these handheld devices from Travis from Metrohm with you and check what pill you're actually taking and what they're giving you. But on this funny note, I suggest we move on with the program and we go back to CSEM, back to Guillaume, and see what developments do they do. The floor is yours. Do not forget to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon again.
Okay, very great. Thank you.
You can see the screen.
Yes, very well. Perfect. It's all yours.
So I will repeat a few things that have been said already, because indeed we have similar viewpoints with quite a lot of the previous speakers at CSEM. So I will talk quickly about brand protection and counterfeiting functions. So that the main ones that we had already, we need to identify the goods, we need to identify the goods, and we need to tamper seal, because of course the marking are almost never done on the product itself, but always on the packaging. And we really need a strong security in all of these three usually. Now, if we look at pharmaceuticals as a specific industry, usually it's quite a lot considered as a B2B market, but it's also a B2C market, or B2B2C, and there is still quite a lot of room to improve the security of the full supply on retail chains using the consumers. So at the end, all the pharmaceutical will be used by somebody, and if we can leverage the consumers to become controllers, so to implement level 1 security features, it's extremely powerful. It put a lot of pressure on counterfeiters, because it's at the very end of the product lifetime that it will be eventually controlled. And it's also not sampling, it's really random control. Of course, there is a lot of challenges with that, because consumers are many, they are diverse, usually they will not be trained, they have no tools, they have very little time. But as said before, each single sold items will be used at some point and can be controlled. So one question that I hear sometimes, and I try to answer, is what should we use? Should we use optical or digital security features? And by the way, what is a bit the difference between optical and digital security features? Because usually we have a mixture of two. We can have both optical and digital security features. So to me, the difference between optical and digital is who say if it will be a good or a bad product. There is usually only two options. Either it's a brain, it's somebody with his perceptions that will say, yes, it's a good one, or no, or it's an algorithm on a processor. Of course, we can make optical security features using digital tools. It's quite common, and we can make digital security features containing quite some optics, of course. So there is many optical security features. You know them: rainbow hologram, interferential layers, volume holograms are here on Swiss banknotes, optical variable inks, which are also very popular on banknotes, and all kind of other things from liquid crystal, 3D relief features, here passport security features, as Guy mentioned before, from SURYS with the IDs. And you have many, many more. So I would not say it's a jungle, but there is many, many options to choose from. And it's not always easy to know which one to pick up and to choose. So what are they good at, these optical security features? First, they are always visible. You can control them in a glimpse. Usually it's very fast, it's eye-catching, so it will attract attention. And that's one of the core functions of anti-counterfeiting features. It has to attract attention. If people don't look at it, it's whatever you do, it will be useless. It's almost hand-free, usually without even touching it and moving a bit around the object. You can already have a feeling if it's optically viable or not. And it has to be self-explanatory because, as said before, people will not be trained. So they are extremely good at authentication and integrity check because usually, as mentioned before by SURYS, for example, they will be combined with tampering functions. But they have also limitations. In some light environments, they will be very difficult to check. There is usually some option to mimic them. For good security features, they cannot be counterfeited or imitated, but they can be mimicked. So usually it's poor quality, but it's still possible. Another limitation is that it's usually a variable on analog control. So quite often the answer is probably it's good, probably it's bad, or maybe I'm not 100% sure. And another limitation is that people are usually not trained, not aware of the features where they are, what they should see. And the last big limitation, and one of the stronger ones, is that most consumers will not report when they see a suspicion of a fake. They will not provide any data to the brand owners or to the authorities about what they have seen. So on the other side, there's a digital security feature. Here again, you have a lot of solutions. I just take a few examples. We heard about some very good ones today from Arjo solution, from SURYS, and there are many others. It can go from NFC chips with tamper-evident loops to specific secured QR codes and so on and so on. And sometimes combining QR codes, optical variable devices, and so on and so on. What are they good at? They are good at data collection because most of the time you will need a smartphone to check them. And of course, smartphones are connected. So usually one of the features of the app, of the service which is used to do the control is to report data somewhere. They are binary and they are statistically reproducible, which doesn't mean they will always work, but at least statistically they will. And it's also an anchor for consumer interaction and education. So consumer interaction would be of interest for the marketing, but the education is also a very important part of anti-counterfeiting. They can make very fast identifications. You will never be faster in identification and checking online databases with an optical feature than with a digital feature. So they are extremely good for identification, sometimes also quite good at authentication and integrity check for the best solutions. Of course, there are also limitations. As they are digital, if you don't have your smartphone with you, if it's in your pockets, there is almost no features. We cannot read it, we cannot understand if it's a good one or not. One of the big problems, which is sometimes a bit overlooked, is that there is no secure digital control entry points. So if you have a smartphone with a good app pre-installed, everything is secured. If you don't have it, it's very, very difficult to have a secured control with digital features. Very few solutions are app-free, so it makes control rates quite low if there is no strong incentives to help consumers to control, for example, with providing bonuses to free products to consumers. And smartphone with app is very powerful, but it's not that easy to deploy at consumer level. It's easier to deploy the hardware, of course, but it's also not so easy. Of course, now in China, it becomes easier with meta app like WeChat, where you don't need to pre-install apps. So from CSEM, from our experience, the most robust solutions for B2C market is to combine optical and digital. how usually we like to do that? We like to have both really, really close by, really intertwined, so that they are working together. We don't want to have them separated. Other one will be attacked probably, and the other one will be reused, or one will be not secured. And depending on where you are in the retailing chain, maybe if one is corrupted, it's enough to sell your fake product. And we also want to have the digital parts secured by the optical parts, usually. And our experience with that is that deployments are very successful. So we can see counterfeiting metering going down a lot, including in China. So there is really a lot to do, and the return on investment can be great for brands if they do it well. So usually we cannot speak about brands, and it's very difficult to take an example on the real case example. I had the opportunity to present a bit some examples made with NSC, with who we are working since close to 10 years now. So NSC is a premium spirit brand doing cognac, and they are working worldwide, including a lot in Asia. And it's part of a big luxury group, LVMH. It's the most attacked brand in LVMH group because what they do are spirits, and spirits are easy to counterfeit and easy to refill in the same package. So they have been sold to, and also because retailing channels are very complex. Louis Vuitton can own its own shops. Brand like NSC cannot own all the bars and clubs where the products are sold. So here's an example of a security solution that was developed for NSC by SURYS, where you can really find all kinds of optical and digital features together. So they are aimed mostly at digital controls for smartphones, but you have also a lot of optical parts. And both the optical and digital are combined with tamper evident, and it's really something which is placed to seal the top of the bottles with the capsules. And with that, you can have very robust solutions, and you can really see counterfeiters going to other brands first. So in our experience, and CSEM is working on anti-counterfeiting optical wearable devices since the 80s. There is really a lot of opportunities for brand protection to do more. So to the opposite of other markets like banknotes, passports, and so on, there's still a lot to do. There's still a lot of counterfeiting, and solutions are available. There is just the need to focus on it and to pick up the best solution available today to have a good return on investments.
Thank you very much for a great presentation, and congratulations on all the amazing job that in anti-counterfeiting CSEM is doing. We have many of your contacts. I would like to say hello to all of them. Many of them wanted to give the presentation today. They appointed you, and you done a great job. The example of Hennessy really opened my eyes. This is really fascinating. I would like to ask you the epic question. What can you do for them? What can they do for you?
So, as I'm not the end user, I will not give you something from my side, but what I hear a lot from the market, from the end user, what brands would like to. A lot of brands are asking that we don't check the packaging anymore, we don't secure the packaging anymore, but we really work on the product itself. So for NSA, it would be the cognac itself, the spirits inside the bottle. They would like to authentify, eventually to identify to some extent what is inside the bottle without opening it. So here there is a lot of room for optics, of course, for different optical solutions and photonic solutions. Of course, brands would like it to have it on the smartphone level in a few years from now. So here I think this is a roadmap that can keep us busy for quite some years.
When I see this beautiful, beautiful labeling, when I see this, the first thing I think about is this suitable to volume production in which price is a challenge? Because of course I know these bottles are not very, very cheap, so you don't care about spending a few cents on the labeling, but this is suitable for other applications.
I have never seen a point in an industry where the cost was too high. Sometimes the implementations, the bottling line in that case, or the packaging line can be a challenge, but I have never seen that the return on investments was too low.
When it comes to the demetallization process, which is for me it was outstanding to see it in here. When it comes to demetallization processes, are there any challenge with the reproducibility, any challenge with the supply chain, any challenge to technology transfer this to the industry?
I can't go into anything specific, but no, it's well established in the industry, so no, it's not a challenge today.
All right, thank you so much. Are there any questions? Any questions for this? Because we're gonna shift gears now for another topic. I would like to ask Martina before we go to the next topic. Martina, you saw this slide, which is super interesting and super relevant to you. Is there any final remarks, any final thoughts that come to your mind when you see this?
No, I mean, I think spirits is quite a good industry for brand protection, and they also have quite a problem. I think it depends a bit in which country one is. So I think where we are in Switzerland, it's not such a big issue. But if you compare to, for instance, India, it's really, I mean, they've had multiple deaths as well for you drinking falsified liquor. So I think liquor is a great industry, and I love the solution that they have. So yeah.
Travis, you've done a great job in the beginning of the meeting talking about the anti-counterfeiting technologies for the passports. He's addressing a different market segment here. What kind of ideas, collaboration opportunities, or perhaps just thoughts come to mind?
Well, as far as spirits in general go, it's easy enough for us to say determine if there's methanol that's been spiked into the liquor. As far as actually differentiating some of the different whiskeys and scotches and that kind of thing, it's really difficult just because the sugar profiles are so similar between a lot of the different whiskeys. This is actually a case where we have issues with fluorescence at 785. So something like 1064 might do a better job just because you do see a lot of fluorescence, especially from some of the darker whiskeys, but it is an area where Raman, I think, could be used. Just depends on exactly what you're looking to do with it.
Thank you very much for that. And thank you for a great meeting so far. We're going to go now to ENEA, because I want to hear from Violeta Lazic about the amazing things that they are doing in one of my favorite countries in the world, in Italy. Ciao, Violeta. The floor and attention of everyone is yours.
Okay, should I share?
Yes. Bottom of the screen, you have the green arrow up. You click on it, and it will tell you which window to share with us.
Okay.
I really love the spirit one. Somebody told me today that when you're in a meeting in the evening, you're supposed to blow in your drink so everybody thinks it's tea. Violeta, the floor is yours.
Sorry. Okay, I here speak about something quite different that is very big scientific, highly performing instrument for many kind of measurements. So I'll speak about integrated laser sensors. That is the first operative scanning remote instrument that integrates four spectroscopic technique. Here we are doing all practically. We have here laser scattering for detection of surface state, that means roughness, presence of particles, and we discriminate those from liquids. Then we perform laser-induced fluorescence and Raman spectroscopy for molecular identification, and then a laser-induced breakdown spectroscopy for elemental analysis in top sample layers as depth profiling. So this instrument was fully developed and patented by ENEA, and here I show you previous prototype and more recent prototype. Both of them were used for demonstration aimed to detect trace explosives at distance. So working distance of these instruments, it was tested between 9 and 30 meters, but it was projected to work up to 100 meters, but we had no chance to test it still at this distance. Other features here are interactive choice of scanning area and grid density through external camera. And then we have interactive visualization of the results of two-dimensional map produced. We can switch to high magnification camera to see details and precisely point the laser. And here you can see fingerprints observed by this camera at a distance of 11 meters. And switching between two detection techniques is automatic and takes less than 10 seconds. The instrument has autofocus and could be operated remotely through wireless. So I show you results of scanning by laser scattering at the distance of 10 meters. Here we had plotted particles of RDX, and by scanning we can rapidly localize position of some particles on the surface. Scattering and fluorescence are performed simultaneously, and here I show some examples of fluorescence spectra. And when we come to discriminate some nitro compounds which are of interest for counter-terrorism, we have detection limits in order of 10 nanograms. So then we can switch to slower Raman techniques because we need more time to accumulate signal. It is highly selective, but it also has a high detection threshold. And here in not eye-safe regime, we obtain a distance of 10 meters, detection limit of 150 nanograms. A distance of 10 meters. If we pass to low energy, to eye-safe regime, really it's very difficult to see something, to see the trace materials. On the other hand, if we apply at the end lead spectroscopy, here performed with high resolution spectrometer between 200 and 830 nanometers, we can detect explosives in order of 1 nanogram and 10 meters. Here we cannot say which explosives is this, but we know it is explosive in traces. We base detection of the residues on surfaces on differences between the spectra acquired after the first laser pulse that interacts with the residue and after the successive laser pulses that interact with already clean substrate. So while we are doing scanning with cheat technique, in real time we have this occurrence of red or green points. Red means that we identified some explosive here, and it works well and was published. So this instrument I mentioned you is a highly performing scientific instrument, not for selling around. We use that for scientific and feasibility studies and for measuring campaigns. And as a starting point for building new simplified instruments for specific application. For example, we are building now Raman eye-safe, compact lips with vision system and so on. So this system can have a very different application like remote detection of toxic materials, characterization of building materials, cultural heritage. And now we are working very much on forensic, on mapping and analysis of crime scene. And here we have one Horizon 2020 project where starting from the ELS instrument, we are building 4 separate, very, very compact instruments to be placed on scanning platform or brought for close analysis. Another application is classification of materials for recycling, quality monitoring in industrial processes, for example, in steel industry. And what we are interested here, we perform at ENEA feasibility or scientific studies, projecting the realization of laser spectroscopy instruments, everything from optics to software, electronic parts. We realize portable, tabletop or remote instruments. We perform measuring campaigns by our many laboratory instruments or in-field instruments. We are interested in networking, scientific collaboration, new funding opportunities, and we also host postgraduate students. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for this great overview, and yet another topic we touch here now, remote sensing of explosives. And I have a question to you. You discussed a little bit about the distance and about the concentration. What about the time? Because if you're talking about explosives, timing might be something also of quite an asset there. So how fast does this analysis work?
Okay, LIPS is very fast. We deliver 2 shots, that's 0.2 seconds. So differently Raman, you need to accumulate signal. So it depends how thin is residue. If you analyze bulk material, you'll need a few seconds. If you have residue of 100 nanograms at a certain surface, you might take minutes to achieve a sufficient signal to noise ratio.
So in your opinion, or in your bucket list, how could we help you with improving the Raman system to make it maybe faster?
Raman system, I mean, you can only increase Raman is not efficient process, so you have to maximize collection system. What does mean? You have to use big optics, so it becomes bulky if you want to increase the signal. And I mean, we cannot increase at this moment highly sensitivity of the detector. What I really would like to have for this kind of system is to have cheaper and more compact high pulse lasers. And I would like to have zoom lenses with autofocus, but with for high energy lasers. For high energy lasers, we don't have very much. I mean, variable lenses, the variable dioptric lenses do not work for high power laser.
Okay, so we have some requests here. I'm sure that after the meeting, there will be quite some collaborations coming your way. And I want to take a chance to introduce yet another technology, the terahertz sources. And we have Mauro from Lighted here. Mauro, why wouldn't you just share with us what Lighted does and what you have to offer on the topic of forensic science?
Okay, yes, thanks for the introduction, and hi to everyone. Well, terahertz is a French company. We're based in Paris, and we focus our efforts in the terahertz region of the wavelengths on the spectrum. The thing is, we have nice sources as nice detectors since a few years. What we are doing now is to develop systems, and in the terahertz region, obviously. And we just last month delivered a gas spectroscopy system to a lab here in France. And we are delivering an imaging system, but this is not really related to today's topic. The thing is that with terahertz, you can have different signatures because you're basically moving to another part of the spectrum. And you don't need to be that precise with the optical alignment because of the wavelength. And you can be able to trace specific signatures. And as I was writing on the main chat, I think that spectroscopy in general and gas spectroscopy, like the system that we developed, could be interesting probably to the forensic customers and analysts. And on the other hand, we also are open to project and collaboration to develop something that it's actually very specific for the customer. So I don't know if terahertz has already a big role in this kind of market, but we are open to discussion. This is what we can already offer, and we are here to be challenged.
Great, thank you very much for this introduction of Lighted. Let's find some challenge for you as well. We have many other companies in the room, and I would like to address to Thierry from Lambda X. Lambda X is developing different optical inspections. And Thierry, why wouldn't you comment on your interest in today's topic? Don't forget to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Elena, and thanks again to EPIC to give us the chance to learn new things on the new market. So I was there pretty for learning, and I got many market insights and technology insight to understand where company like Lambda X could position. And as you know, and as I have already been talking in these meetings, we are working on the Raman imaging technology. And so we don't go as far as proposing some portable tools, but we work, the imaging technology is something else than Raman, and it is really interesting to detect something that you cannot predict will be there. And so it's really meant to detect impurities and counterfeiting agents in some materials. For instance, in agro-food, you find counterfeiting. People put melamine in milk. And if you have a Raman imaging technique, you will be able to tell if it is there and where it is. Whereas with a Raman spectrometer, if you don't have the possibility to detect a small particle in the range of a few tens or hundreds of nanometer or micrometer and tell what it is here, because you will get the Raman shift spectrum on that very particle, then you've done the job. So we do work, or we do address, or start to see some applications to measure on products and to tell about contaminants or sometimes counterfeiting molecules that are there to make the milk, to mix the milk with some proteins that will tell the people that it's a high nitrogen content, but actually is not good for the public and could generate some public health problems. So we stand a bit further, not really on the market with a product, but working with a technology which could have application for the counterfeiting, but really working on products in agri-food or pharmaceuticals. So that's my input for today.
Thank you so very much for your input and for being with us in this meeting.
Thanks.
As we are talking quite a lot about different lasers and different lasers needs, we have today Robert from Modulite with us. Robert, would you like to comment on how Modulite lasers can be also fit into these problems of today?
Yeah, so just short comments that we are really looking forward for the different collaborations, and that is also a reason why I'm here visiting this really interesting conference, not conference, but session so far. And
yeah, Robert, but don't worry, because Violeta, could you repeat for us? Because for me, it's super important. You're not looking for a semiconductor laser. You're looking for something else. Could you repeat for us the specifications of your Santa Claus Christmas list laser?
That is, it has laser energy in order of 10 millijoule, and it is very compact, nanosecond, and it's cheap.
What does it mean, cheap? And don't tell me, so we are
cheaper
talking...
than now. We are now using diode pump solid state laser, and the cost increases with the laser energy, increases really very much.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Jose. That helps a lot. Also, that definitely we can look for collaborations in there. We do pulsed lasers, and they are really compact. We have a long history in making really compact ones and portable lasers. Yeah, the price depends a lot on is it used clinically or just that is there this regulatory burden on the laser. So definitely, if your end indication is not on patients, it can decrease the price a lot. So we'll be happy to discuss about the specs, or if you're interested.
Yes, I'm interested. Yes,
about
of course.
questions or everything. We'll be happy to answer questions. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
That is really great. Thanks a lot for all contributions. But now I would suggest we move to the final presentation of this session. It's going to be very spectacular and beautiful. We go back to Italy, actually, and we go to Raffaella Fontana from ENO-CNR. Raffaella,
yes,
please share your presentation with us and the beautiful study you do.
Thank you so much. Can you see my presentation?
Not yet.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer for giving me this opportunity to present my activity, even though I feel a little bit like a fish out of water. The National Institute of...
Let's share your presentation. We don't see it yet.
No, not yet? Oh,
no,
sorry.
It's not,
okay.
It's not there.
Oh,
so if
why
you
not?
share your screen, as a button green, and then you need to choose the screen which you want to share.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, now it's coming up.
Okay,
great.
Can you see it now?
And presentation, perfect.
Okay.
Very clear, thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. So my institute, the National Institute of Optics, is one of the institutes of the Italian National Research Council. And my research is mainly concerned with the development of optical prototypes for the diagnostics of works of art. I am presenting here 3 prototypes. A multispectral scanner working in the visible and near infrared spectral range for the spectrophotometric characterization of painted surfaces, a microprofilometer for the high-resolution 3D survey of artworks, and an OCT device for the stratigraphy. I dare say that the fil rouge in the development of our instrument is the characteristics of being non-invasive. And I dare say that the non-invasiveness is a constraint more than a characteristics, as artworks are unique, precious, and generally speaking, delicate objects. So we have to use non-invasive techniques. The first instrument I'm going to speak about is the Vis-Near multispectral scanner that is one of a kind spectrophotometer due to, let's say, it's a huge spectral range. It is based on point-wise detection that is performed by means of a catoptric optical head and a fiber bundle that you can see on the right-hand side. And it is a custom-made fiber bundle with a square section made by 6x6 fibers in a square array. The catoptric lens guarantees the absence of chromatic aberration, and the single point detection guarantees the absence of geometric aberration. That is a requirement when analyzing images. And the result is a stack of images from 380 nanometers up to 2.5 microns in one instrument. And all images are metrically correct and perfectly superimposing. And you can look at this stack of images also as a set of spectra, one for each pixel of the images. As an example, if we use infrared images, you can see the scrolling of images. And by changing the wavelength, we can discover the underdrawing. And here you can see in the Madonna del Granduca by Raffaella, the underdrawing made with the spolvero TDX. In fact, you can see the small black dots on the background. And thanks to the high wavelength in the infrared, we were able also to pass through a very dark background like in that image. And also multi-step spectral images are used and processed to produce false color or color composite images, like on the very famous drawing 8P by Leonardo. And the second image, this is a visible image, and this image is a color composite image made of the principal component, the main three principal components. The microprofilometer allows to survey nearly flat surfaces with an axial resolution in the micrometer scale and a lateral resolution of about 20 micron. The output is a 3D mesh that can be displayed as a color map or a Rakin light image. Again, the famous drawing by Leonardo in the color image and Rakin light image. And also you can visualize the mesh by using standard 3D model softwares. And the high resolution survey allows us also to see very detailed inscriptions, such as those marks left by the metal stylus used by Leonardo. Last but not least, the OCT device prototype is a confocal time domain instrument. The core instrument is a microson interferometer, and scanning the mirror on the reference arm allows to detect the interfaces between materials with different index of refraction, enabling the non-invasive stratigraphy of paintings. Stratigraphy is generally performed through microsampling, and therefore it is generally performed on boundary regions of the painting, which are not always representative of the conservation status of the painting. And one of the most, this is an example of a tomographic image where you can see the canvas on the bottom, and on the top, the paint layer thickness. And here again, a paint layer, and the tomocube made of several tomographic images. And one of the most significant application of OCT is the documentation of the cleaning process. On the left-hand side, you can see the Antonello da Messina ritratto Trivulzio, the detail of the color image, where a completely dirty region, a partially cleaned, and a completely cleaned region are visible. But you can better see those regions in the UV image. And we have acquired several tomographic images along lines such as that dashed line that is reported down here, where you can see the thinning of the varnish layer during the cleaning process. On the right-hand side, there is the Madonna dei Fusi by Leonardo, where the cross is not properly a cross, the one that is held by the child, but it is a yarn winder. It is a sort of spinning wheel to make the spindle. And by means of the OCT, we were able also to reach the underdrawing. This is a detail of that square in the sky. And if I kick off the very short movie, you can see all the surfaces from outside to the inside, and we reach also the underdrawing. So the future developments for our instrument are, for instance, our goals, let's say, are to extend the spectral range of the multispectral scanner towards the lower wavelengths, let's say in the UV region, and also to increase the spectral resolution in order to be able to recognize all the penguin materials. And concerning the microprofilometer, due to its poor dynamics, we would like to add another optical head in order to survey also big objects. And last, in order to be able to make stratigraphy also on mural paintings, frescoes, and so on, we would like also to try OCT using sources in the mid-infrared region or even TRS1. And that's it. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
I don't know what to react to this. So the first reaction is, do they let you? Did you play with those paintings?
What do you mean?
I mean, can you actually do the testing directly in these paintings?
Yes, for sure. For sure.
Okay, I'm not gonna ever ask you if any accident ever happened. I prefer to ask you about the exotic wavelengths that you want to target with the OCT. Can you be a bit specific there?
You mean the minimum thickness we are able to measure or the maximum? The minimum, it depends on the instrument resolution. Our prototype has an axial resolution of 10 microns in air, meaning that you have to divide by the refractive index because it works at 1.55 microns. But if we decrease the wavelength, we increase the axial resolution. Because axial resolution goes as the wavelength to the second divided by the spectral wavelength of the source.
We have a question in the room coming from ST Microelectronics, Eric Masailerat. What's on your mind? Eric Masailerat? You are muted, the sentence of EPIC 2020. Yes, Eric.
Yes, I'm interested in knowing why you are interested to switch or to add to your wavelength UV. What kind of information are you looking at with UV wavelengths?
I would like to perform both the UV-induced fluorescence and UV reflected measurements, because many organic materials are very sensitive also to UV radiation. And it is seldom performed in our field.
Okay, thanks.
Thierry, when you see Thierry from Lambda X, Thierry, when you see what they are doing today and the targeting of using hyperspectral imaging for actually scanning these large paintings, is there anything that comes to mind in terms of cooperation? And you should know, Raffaella, that Thierry Lambda X is one of our key companies in innovation for hyperspectral.
Well, it's why not? It's interesting. We never, we concentrated on application which were on the microscopic, and those painting is an interesting combination of have a microscopic look to a macroscopic device. So it's really interesting to see how to combine and actually, we are looking for applications where hyperspectral could be beneficial to microscopic observations, because usually hyperspectral imaging, you want to go fast and you compromise either on the resolution, spectral or spatial, but we combine both with our hyperspectral imaging technology. So I would be interesting how to give the, and it remains a fast, it remains a fast technique for microscopic application, but how fast, what means fast when you apply it to large scenes like this? It's a good open question. I'd like to discuss that
I had exactly the same question, Raffaella. You want to scan a large painting. I'm thinking about the Guernica from Picasso. It's huge, beautiful, by the way. And you want to scan the hyperspectral imaging over the whole surface. So automation for the scanning is a challenge, or can you just have a handheld device that you can actually scan over the whole surface?
No, automation is a challenge, and all our instruments are very slow. But fortunately, all works of art are still. So the time is not such a big issue.
Okay, so we have time, but we want very stable scanning. I'm looking at the companies that we have in EPIC, like Dencon, like PI. These guys want collaboration with scanning over the whole Guernica from Picasso in Bilbao. Raffaella,
yes.
To finish this amazing meeting, by the way, I have to say, I am amazed what we have put together today. Raffaella, to finish this amazing meeting, give me a challenge, one potential partner that you would think, okay, let's work together and write a European project or a national project or basically do some business together.
Okay, a very, very, very large source to perform a very high resolution OCT device in order to distinguish between very thin layers of varnish, of paintings, or whatever.
A very large source to add to a fantastic new device. To be honest, I have to say, Raffaella, that I love the technology. I love the technology that you have presented today, and I love what you have identified as a room for collaboration with the partners. As I also love other 3 challenges that we have addressed today. The first one was addressed by 3DAG and SURYS. Both of them said low-cost replication, traceability risk, and destruction. The second challenge that we found today was in the Raman spectroscopy solution. We're looking for a laser diode, 750 nanometer center wavelength, 100 milliwatts of power, 0.1 nanometer line width. And we're also looking for in the integrated laser sensors in the ILS. ENEA is looking for a 10 millijoule, very compact nanosecond laser. Let's find this device for these people because they want to work together. They want to be epic. And for all the rest, just remember that epic is all about cooperations. The meeting is over now. But now starts the most important part, the follow-up. If you want to get in touch with any of the participants today, I have all their email addresses and I will not give them to you. I will make one-on-one introductions. So if you want to get in touch with them, send me an email, jose.pozo@epic-azoc.com, and I will make these introductions to do business. I would like to remind all of you that this meeting took a lot of work and took the expertise of people in the medical sector, people in the integrated photonics sector, people in the laser segment. And with them, together with them, we are actually bringing all the companies together thanks to the great job of a marketing and event management team. And on behalf of all of them, Carlos Lee, Antonio Raspa, and myself, Jose Pozo, I really love this meeting. Thank you so much. You should remember that we already have announced all the rest of the meetings until the end of March. If any of the topics interesting for you, register online. Go to epic-azoc.com and register online as soon as possible. I want your company to get the right visibility in this meeting. Until the next time, wash your hands, wear a mask, stay healthy and safe, take care of each other. See you later. Bye-bye.